Welcome to Hidden Tracks, Stories from BART. I'm Chris Filippi. Well, this time we're talking about the future of some of the busiest stations in the BART system. Embarcadero, Montgomery Street, Powell Street, and Civic Center are seeing more riders all the time. BART has launched an ambitious plan to handle the increased workload for those stations, as well as to give them a fresh look that fits in nicely with all of the changes happening in downtown San Francisco. To talk more about this, I'm joined by Tim Chan, who's a planning manager here at BART. Tim, thanks so much for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, this is some exciting stuff that's going on, and let's just talk about capacity, because these stations, they really are getting busier all the time.
Absolutely. And, when the system was originally designed, we were designing for, 200,000 people. We had no idea back in the 1960s and 1970s that we were going to grow to the point that we are right now, where we're seeing average daily ridership of about 450,000 people. So,
and I mean, obviously, these riders are experiencing that. San Francisco, especially Embarcadero and Montgomery, are extremely busy. Talk about some of the ideas that are being considered and what actions are being taken to deal with that increased workload.
So I think maybe a lot of people have heard about things like the saddlebag side platform ideas as well as a second tube. And certainly those ideas have generated a lot of interest regionally. But what we want to do before thinking about a multi-billion-dollar investment is we want to think about what are some of the shorter-term ideas, operational things, investments that we can make that will allow us to address the growing demand issues that we will continue to have over the next 5 to 10 years. So things like looking at the escalators, is there a way for us to meter the crowding on the escalators? Is there a way to look at speed for the fare gates and for the escalators? One idea that we're looking at right now are platform screen doors, and adding platform screen doors to our downtown stations allow us to crowd a few more people at the platform area. But then also looking at changeable message signs. So if we have information at the street level, at the concourse level, to let folks know that we're at crush load down at the platform, can that help people make decisions about whether or not they want to go down to the platform right now, or can they wait a little bit longer before going down to the station platforms?
I'm trying to imagine the screen doors. Can you kind of describe those and tell us how they would work?
Sure. So the platform screen door idea is not new. And so if you travel to Europe and to Asia, they already have platform screen doors in many of their systems. Also, if you go to the airport and you're riding a people mover system, chances are you will have experienced a platform screen door as well. So what happens with that is that there is a glass wall, often a glass wall, that separates from the platform and the tracks. And so there are doors that open up, and they're supposed to line up to the same doors as the cars. And so what happens is when there are no trains, then the doors are closed. And then once a train arrives at the station, then those doors will open up. So the platform screen doors serve a couple of really important purposes. Again, one is to address the capacity issues. It allows people to get a little bit closer to and safely to the platform. But the other really important aspect of it is really suicide prevention. And so what we have experienced on the BART system is that in the last 5-10 years, when there is an incident that occurs on the BART system, especially during the most congested periods, we are seeing massive delays of 2 hours. And so when that happens during the afternoon peak or the morning peak, it really just wrecks the whole system and it wrecks everyone's commute. So we want to find ways to both help address the suicide and reduce the suicide numbers, but then also address the capacity issues.
Yeah, I know there's been a lot of public outreach on this. There have been public meetings about this at the stations and that sort of thing. Give us a sense for where we stand in terms of process and when might riders see some changes, some implementation here?
Over the past 3 years, we've gone out to the downtown stations from Embarcadero to Civic Center with ideas first to solicit input on the station modernization planning, but then also following up with ideas and recommended improvements and investments for those stations. So some of the earlier things that we want to maybe move forward and test first, for example, would be at Embarcadero. And so people who use that station will notice that there's this circular seating. beautiful, original to the station, and some of the seatings are located pretty close to the escalators. And what we've noticed during extremely busy morning periods is that people are sitting sitting in the circular seating, but then as people are lining up to queue up and to go up the escalators, they're actually wrapping around the seating, and it's pushing more and more people out to the platform edge. And that, to us, is something that we want to help reduce. So our thinking maybe is to take a look at maybe removing some of those seatings, but then also ensuring that we replace the seating in kind somewhere else on the platform. Also, some of the seatings are directly in the way in the queuing lanes for people trying to get into and out of our cars. So we also want to be smart about where we locate a lot of that seating to always make sure that it's not going to be in the way of our customers. So those are some of the shorter term things that we're considering right now. Also with the bond that's coming up, is we're looking to make major escalator investments in the downtown San Francisco area, both at the platform level and at the street level. These escalators are some of the oldest escalators in our system, and so they are past the prime for replacement and overhaul. So the bond is going to help address those issues and allow us to get better functioning escalators and for them to perform throughout the day.
I'm speaking with Tim Chan. He's a planning manager here at BART, and we're talking about the future of the downtown San Francisco stations. Always a very hot topic. I know another thing riders are concerned about is just the presentation of these stations, how they look, how they feel. Talk about some of the steps that are being taken to deal with the aesthetic concerns.
Even before I do that, I do want to acknowledge that when we went out to survey our customers, and we were at the stations to hear our customers about their concerns, their frustrations, and their ideas, what we heard loud and clear for our customers is that the aesthetic is really important, but we want to make sure the equipment's functioning first. So that is our priority. But after that, what we know is that when people are in our stations, when they are clean, when they are attractive, it generates a really unique kind of experience that people want to be at our stations. They want to be riding BART. And so as we are coming in with brand new cars, we also want to make sure that our stations are going to be reflected and upgraded to that 21st century aesthetic. So what we've done through our station modernization is we've taken a look at the existing architecture and design of each of these stations. And what we know is stations like Powell Street with what I consider, and I know many people feel the same way, are the iconic bubble tiles. And a lot of our customers have told us, please preserve that because that is so unique to Powell Street and to Montgomery. And so we've done that, but then we've also looked at other opportunities for upgrading and updating our stations to make them more attractive. So for example, starting next month, we will be putting finally a new ceiling and lighting system. And so it's going to be a very simple grid system, but it's going to be modern looking and it's going to transform the concourse area of Powell Station. We've also identified art opportunities, and something that we haven't done a lot at the downtown stations, but we're now looking at these opportunities to bring in artists from the region, from around the country, locally as well, to look at how we can brighten up a space and make it look more attractive. And we'll be doing this at all of the 4 downtown stations.
Yeah, and of course, this all fits into what's happening in San Francisco more broadly, fitting in with things like the Better Market Street plan. There has to be a lot of coordination here.
Thank you for bringing Better Market Street because that's exactly what BART is doing. So I work extremely closely with the planning staff, the MTA staff, and the public works staff. I'm making sure that whatever we're doing inside our station is being very closely coordinated with what happens at the street level. And so one example I like to bring up is our canopy project. And so as we are going in to make escalator investments, we are now required by state code to put a protective canopy on top. So because we knew it was going to be on Market Street, we set up a process by which we worked extremely closely with the city family to select a architect team and then to come up with a design. And right now, as part of phase 1, I think the contract's already out to bid. And so one canopy will be located at Powell Station. The other one will be at Civic Center. And then the phase 2, if the bond passes, we see us completing the rest of the entrances along Market Street from Embarcadero to Civic Center.
I know one of the ideas that you've been excited about the results on is the pit stop at 16th Street. Tell me what that is and how it's been going so far.
16th Street, many people know it's a really challenging area. It is very vibrant, but it's also got some challenges. And so what has happened over the years is that there really are no places for people to use the restrooms. And so what the city has done, and they've done incredibly successfully, is they started up the pit stop program first in the Tenderloin, and now they've expanded it across the more problematic areas. So we saw an opportunity to partner with the city, and in particular Public Works, to look at how we can add a pit stop, another pit stop facility at 16th Street, but one that also will support and provide some relief for our customers. And so we worked with them. We provided money as a match to locate a second pit stop facility at the Northeast Plaza of 16th Street Station. There's already a JC2Co unit that's on the Southwest Plaza, and now we wanted to add a second one on the Northeast Plaza. So what we know from the data is that last year we saw, I believe, over 12,000 people using that particular Northeast Plaza facility, and of that, over 2,000 of those people were BART customers. And so because of the success of that one, we sought grant money, and so part of that money goes into continuing the facility at the Northeast Plaza, but we've now added a second facility at Civic Center.
Is there any possibility that idea could be expanded to other stations?
Absolutely. So I just mentioned that we've gotten some money for Civic Center. And so, yes, absolutely we will continue to explore more opportunities where it is most problematic. And Powell Street's another station that I'm working with the city and Union Square BID, the Business Improvement District, to see if there's some opportunities there, but then looking at other places as well.
I'm speaking with Tim Chan, a planning manager with BART, and we're talking about the downtown San Francisco stations. One of the phrases I've seen thrown around, especially with Powell Station, is a gateway station. Explain that. What does that mean?
Powell Street is a gateway station because, first and foremost, it's where the tourists come from around the world, from around the country. And a lot of times, the Powell Street station is the first station that they will see. And so that's why we've made as many investments as we have at the station. And I know our customers aren't seeing all of it right now, but they will be over the next 3 years. And so things like the new ceiling, new lighting system, things like a new canopy system that will occur on the street level of Powell Station. But then also, I call it phase 2 of the Powell modernization. What we're going to be doing there is, most importantly, we've got this big ticket vending machine area, break room that's over by the Nordstrom Westfield entrance and Halliday Plaza entrance. And that creates just a huge problem for sightline and circulation. And so our project there will be to relocate the ticket vending machines, the ad fare machines to the sides of the lobby area, and then relocate the break room to another part of the station. And that will completely open up the lobby area and allow full sight line, full visibility, and then also allowing more natural light to come in. And then up at the ceiling area, we're going to be adding a art light box that it's going to be just absolutely beautiful. And we're really excited about it. And those improvements, we start construction next year.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because it seems like that's become a priority for BART when it comes to its new station design, is that this emphasis on openness, on improving sight lines, and making the stations really part of the community that they serve. And it seems like that really feeds into a lot of concerns and a lot of needs that our riders have. Among them is safety. You're just safer in a place where there are better sight lines.
Yeah, and in our strategic plan, we haven't, and this is really guiding our station modernization program. we have three overarching goals, if you will. One is making transit work because it is our bread and butter. Our trains got to work, our stations got to work. But what's really also important is about connecting to our stations and really providing access, multimodal access, walking, biking, transit, and sometimes even driving to our stations. But then also creating a sense of place. And security is so critical for all three parts of that goal. Is making sure that we reduced those hiding areas, that we do as much as we can to increase the lighting levels, and also doing our best to try to monitor, reduce the elements inside our station. It's a really challenging area, and a lot of what goes on inside our station is really a reflection of what goes on outside of the station and in our cities and in our communities, and we're just really trying our best to respond to that.
You also hear a lot about hot teams. Tell me what those are and how that's going.
So San Francisco has done a really nice job. They've established homeless outreach teams. And what they've done with this outreach team is assemble a number of professional experts, and they might be mental health experts, they might be medical experts, or homeless resource experts, and they assemble this team to go out and engage the homeless population and the various subgroups of the population, and to try to get them to the resources, to the services, and the housing that they need to get to. So they have not been coming into the BART station. And so, again, we saw this as an opportunity to partner with the city of San Francisco to help fund for an outreach team leader and to bring a team down to the BART station. The homeless issue, we hear from our customers, and we acknowledge it. We know it's a big issue in our stations. And so what we want to do is to be able to, in a very sensitive and humane way, engage the homeless, the different types of homeless populations in our stations, and to encourage them to get to, again, the resources, the services, the places where they need to go. And so the SF Hot team that we're partnering with the city is one big step toward achieving that goal.
Yeah, well, it certainly sounds like BART has some pretty ambitious plans for its stations. Kind of bottom line it for the rider who relies on, say, Montgomery Street or Embarcadero, any of those really busy downtown San Francisco stations. They rely on BART. They're a commuter. They see the growing crowds. Kind of bottom line it for them. What's your message to them, and when can they look forward to seeing some changes?
So first, I absolutely always thank our riders for being patient with us, for being our customers. And I know they've been dealing with the crowded conditions, the sad-looking states of our stations for quite some time. I want to tell them that relief is coming, not just with the new rail cars, but we are making investments in escalator performance and capacity relief inside our stations. And wherever possible, we're looking to upgrade our stations. One of the things I wanted to highlight has been our station Brightening program that we started about 3 years ago. And what we wanted to do was really provide what we call some early wins. We know that a lot of these major investment projects sometimes take years because we got to find the money, then we got to go through the design process, and then there's a procurement process and all of that. And sometimes it takes a few years to get it off the ground. And it was really important for us as part of this Station Brightening program to, number one, get some early wins so that our customers can see some benefits and some relief. But then also, how can we more effectively and efficiently coordinate our resources from our cleaners, from our painters, from our repair and maintenance folks. And so this program allowed us to focus first on the 4 downtown stations where we've done some major amounts of, cleaning and that's been a challenge because, the minute we clean, then the social issues come back and then, the next day we know that it gets dirty again, but then we've also committed to more staffing at the 4 downtown stations. What we've seen is the painting has made a major transformative, experience, if you will, particularly at the Powell Street Station and then also at Civic Center Station. So the Station Brightening program is one way for us to get to dealing with some of the, stuff that we can do right now.
Is there still an opportunity for people to offer their input to sound off? And if so, what can they do?
So we have project web pages. And so we encourage people to go check out our project web pages. And we are in the process of updating the information for everything from Embarcadero to Civic Center. And so we'll be posting more information on things like what are the recommended prioritized improvements for each of the station. What will the stations look like after we do some of the modernization work? If we actually have capital projects there, what can you expect in terms of the construction schedule? When are we going to get in there to make the improvements, and when are we going to get out of there? And so information like that.
Tim, thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
That's Tim Chan, a planning manager with BART, talking about the future of our downtown San Francisco stations. And thank you for listening to Hidden Tracks, Stories from BART.